Hello, my name is Julia Caddo, and for my topic 6 assignment, we're going to be going through Simpson High School's data and communicating the results and finding, as well as making a predictive statement. Let's jump into the data. So first off, we have the 3-year state assessment results between the years of 2022 to 2024, covering the subjects of English, reading, math, and science. Let's look at English first. In the year 2022, we see that the achievement results were at 63%. They grew to 64% in 2023, and they grew again to 74% in 2024. Overall, this is an 11% increase. Now, this relates to the goals that Simpson High School has set for itself. First off, we see that Simpson High School will increase the year-to-year proficiency on the state assessments in the ELA, reading, math, and science content by 5%. Their goal was to increase this English by 5%. They increased it by 11%. So they met their goal for this subject. Next, let's look at reading. In 2022, we see that they had achievement results of 50%. They grew to 54% in 2023, but then declined to 52% in 2024. Overall, between 2022 to 2024, we see a 4% increase and then a 2% decrease with an overall 2% increase, which does not meet their goal to grow 5% in reading. Next, let's look at math. In 2022, we see that the results were 34%. They grew to 38% in 2023, but remained consistent at 38% in 2024. Overall, this is a 4% increase, which just falls short of their goal of a 5% growth within math. Let's look at science next. First, we see a 33% in 2022, a 37% in 2023, and finally 39% in 2024. This is a 6% increase in science, which does meet their goal of reaching 5% growth in this category. Next, we're going to look at the educational proficiency gap for both special education students and English language learners when they're compared to general education students. First, we see a metric for all students growth. Next, we look at the general education proficiency within English language arts, and that's 21%, which compared to a 2% proficiency in special education students, this means that there is a 19% gap for special education students. Let's look at English language learners next in this orange graph. First, we see all students have that same proficiency of 22%, and general education students have a 24% proficiency in English language arts compared to English language learners who have a 3% proficiency rate. This creates a 21% gap between general education students and English language learners. The goal, Simpson High School did set 2 goals that relates to this data. So goal number 2 is that Simpson High School will reduce the gap between the general education and the special education students by 2%. And their third goal relates to English language learners and also decreasing that gap by 2%. So you can see that reflected here in this orange dot. So they want to bring the special education proficiency gap from 19% to 17%, and they'd like to bring the English language learner gap from 21% to 19%. Next, let's go ahead and look at the ELA assessments compared to the free and reduced price meals, or looking at a measure of poverty. So as you can see, as the FRM, or free and reduced meal rates, increase, so as they come to their highest amount at 80%, the ELA interim assessments shows that their scores are decreasing. So while they didn't set a specific goal for this metric, it does show a predictable pattern that the higher rate of poverty is going to reflect lower ELA achievement. Next, let's look at graduation rates. We're comparing it in 3 different groups. First, we're looking at Simpson. Next, we're looking at the other schools within the district that Simpson is in. And finally, we're looking at the overall state graduation rates. First, looking at Simpson, we see a steady increase every year. In the first academic year, we see them at 68, grow to 76%, 79%, and in 2023 to 2024, we see them grow to 80%. This is a steady increase overall, ranging 12%. Now, comparing this to the district has really incredible graduation rates, always above the 90% and growing every year, 93 to 94, and staying steady at 95% of a graduation rate, which is pretty incredible. Next, we look at the state. We see similar and a bit of a fluctuation in the graduation rates. So it increases a little bit from 76 to 77% and then raises to 78%, staying right about at 78% consistently for 2 academic years in a row. So comparing this to Simpson, some years they're pretty close to each other. So they're pretty steady as far as the state, but their Simpson's growth does outtake the growth of the graduation rate for the state. Next, we're going to look at overall employee and student satisfaction. So first, we're looking at employee results. So employees were asked overall, I am satisfied with my job, and these are the employees who selected either agree or strongly agree. So at Simpson, we see a steady decrease in satisfaction. The first academic year that they recorded this survey results, 75% of teachers said that they were satisfied, and this decreases all the way to 67%, which is an 8% decrease in employee satisfaction. Next, we look at all high schools within the district of Simpson. So we go from 76, we decline to 72%, and then we see a jump to 80, and then once again 85%. So other high schools are able to achieve or grow their staff satisfaction, but Simpson isn't seeing that same results. Next, we're looking at all schools within the district, not just all high schools within the district. And we see kind of a fluctuation all around those similar numbers. So 83% in the first year, 79%. Then we see a jump to 82% and another slight jump to 84%. But over 4 academic years, this is really only a shift for 1%. So more of a fluctuation than steady increase. Next, we're looking at student survey satisfaction. So the first question asked, how would you rate the quality of your education? And those students who selected good or excellent were recorded on this graph. So Simpson also sees a steady decline in their student satisfaction from 68 the first 2 years and down to 62 the last academic year they administered this survey. The district, on the other hand, shows a fluctuation, so not ranging more than a few percentage points. And then lastly, they continued the survey and they surveyed students about their sense of belonging within the school as well as the school climate. So a previous measure measured them at 27%. They did grow to 29% and 28% for school belonging and school climate, respectively. And they did set a goal to reach 30% in both of those student survey results for the next time that they administer the survey. Lastly, we're going to make a few predictive statements based on this data. The first, and I think most obvious growth that we see in this data is that of Simpson's graduation rates. So as we see the data is increasing, I would predict that Simpson would continue to increase their graduation rates to around 82 to 83% following the steady growth that they're seeing year over year. Next, going back up to the 3-year state assessments results, I would predict that we would continue to see growth in both English and science as we're seeing steady growth throughout the 3 academic years that we see measured here. But I would predict that we would either stay the same or continue to decrease in both reading and math as we haven't seen incredible growth to meet the goals that Simpson has set for themselves. Based on this data, Simpson has a lot of work to do. We need to use intervention to be able to increase those scores and help them to be able to be successful and meet the goals that they want to achieve for their students. Thank you.